Hello, it's Brian Whitten and ET Art. How are you all again? I found cause for another video and mostly because I think my last video, if a woman had watched it all the way through and gotten to the end and understood where we had in actual fact finished, it was rather a dire situation because the sequence we spoke of in respect the moon being moved when the earth, all of those who haven't watched my channel videos, we are at the conclusion now that the pyramids and megaliths are on the earth to let us know that the cycles of earth around the sun are not natural. They are very much managed, always have been since our other star left us. We were once a binary star system. I will move on from where I was in the last video because we were talking about our Earth's axis, which is currently at a tilt of 24 degrees, providing us the seasons of the year. And standing straight on its axis means we don't get any seasons. In that process of the earth coming to stand straight, the people that built the pyramids and megaliths to tell us of all these things, this by the way happens very, very quickly. Without their assistance we would all die, that is without doubt. But they come, and that's why the message is here, so big and so amazingly left us in the megaliths and such things, that when the situation is that the earth is straight, the moon is then moved towards the sun in a way, and it's sort of it's in line with earth. It does no longer cycle around earth, and there lies our problem. And I left my last video saying that in the moon being moved further away from earth and back in a yearly sequence would give us a situation where our window of opportunity to reproduce as humans on the planet, because the moon has moved further away, the women can no longer ovulate. And that was the problem. The other situation I left with is a question is, how do the animals manage in spring? Do they need the moon, or is it only a thermal requirement of heat? That, you know, that there were a lot of questions not answered by my theory to that point. I want to go on now more and explain myself with a few other things that people sent me this week, that then I looked at them and understood that maybe we are seeing something else in a message here. So I'm going to show you those. I wanted to start here. This is a New Earth Star Forts video, very, very much worth a watch. Sylvie Ivanova is a really very, very smart woman, and I love her work, and I've watched it for years and years, long before I started to work out this pyramid stuff. Her work is exceptional. She is an extremely intelligent woman. I think her in third form, I'm 62 years old and worked in IT network support for 40 years. I think she'd have run rings around me now when she was in third form. She is an exceptionally smart lady. But she's also very, very spiritual. I watched one of the videos on her channel, which is why I wanted to bring this up and start the video this way. In her biography, she uploaded a video about her life story. It's a couple of hours long. It took me a few nights to get through it, not because it was boring. I find her voice mesmerising to a degree, and it's extremely calming, so it took me a few nights to watch it. But she really does go through her life as a woman explaining her search for an understanding of spirituality and all that comes within it. Which is the main reason why I make the video. Sylvie is, like I said, a very, very spiritual woman. Being a man myself, I go through life where I understand astrology, and you hear of the character traits that each and every one of us are said to have, depending on what month we're born in, or what period, or where the sun was, or where the stars were when it came time for our birth. There are people on earth that would think, what a complete load of hogwash, and it's rubbish. They would just think that. There's other people that would go to delve into the understanding of it their entire life, trying to understand whether that is real, whether it isn't. And where I left our last video was in actual fact a situation where if in actual fact we could only have 3 months of the year, and that 1 month was going to be the most likely one, the most likely where you would conceive. Imagine if the entire world was full of people that were only Scorpio, like me. It would be a pain in the backside, wouldn't it? What would happen? Or if the whole situation was with a whole bunch of Pisces, we wouldn't be building anything, we'd be out in the forest still hugging trees. No intention, no offence intended to all those Pisces people, but what I'm saying is there are character traits associated to specific star signs. I want to show you something. This is a crop circle that I already showed you in the last video, and a couple of other ones that show you that the movement of the moon here is being shown us how they bring about the seasons or the changes in temperature required on the globe. And that was that the moon, if the circle is the bigger outside circle is the sun, the moon does not cycle around the earth as it does now. It cycles in line with Earth, so if the moon was on the black stick here looking at the sun, the earth would be here, and it goes like this. And what that does when you're actually on Earth watching a sunrise, you wake with a partial eclipse. You get to the middle of the day with a full eclipse, and in the afternoon is once again a partial eclipse. This area that it affects is the equatorial regions, and the summer, winter, spring and temperature changes are gauged by the movement, gauged by moving towards the sun this close or this close. For winter, summer, winter, and that's how it works. And because the shade is constantly on here, we'll effectively end up with two places on Earth where it is warmer, not the equator. But I wanted to come back to that point because, like I said, this was the situation. This made me think that over a 12-month period, which is what we count around here, 12, that was going to happen once. So in other words, if your moon was that close to the sun 12 months ago, in another 12 months it would have come out to here and gone back and be back that close to the sun again, and that it'd be back in summer. However, that type of sequence repetitively, like I said, creates a situation where you've got all a bunch of people on the planet that are only one star sign, or possibly two. And I pondered that, and have done, and not only that, but pondered, okay, well, if the sun, or when the moon's closest to Earth like this is when women can ovulate. It'd be a situation when it's moving away, your chances of that is, and it's moving away, it's going further away, so therefore any other animals that are on our planet, when is it all happening for them? So that was a question as well. So I wanted to show you another crop circle that, in my opinion, when I looked at it, I thought, now I understand what that means, which is very, very important. And as amazing as the things on the rocks are, and to find that all the rocks in my rivers have got technology on them that is beyond belief, this is almost, well, it's a spectacular. And as the question is who's behind all this, I would suspect the answer is written in an understanding of this next crop circle. This is a crop circle I downloaded from a site that I'm a member of, and I relay my information to them and vice versa, and I see things posted, and you can probably see now why I've opened this crop circle over at the top of Sylvie's work back here, because she's left this, I've left Sylvie's work quite deliberately here in the background so we can see the star fort and realise the sequence here of what we're looking at here is essentially the same thing. We're talking about a 5-pointed star and why it exists. What is the purpose of it? What is it here to tell us? We note that we've got the very same thing here, and that we've got bigger circles that are brighter and other circles that are darker. I would see as meaning the sun and the moon. We have got 5 of them. I think this means more than one thing. I will go through more than one thing. The first thing I think it means is when we first come up to the plane, our plane of travel around the sun has been moving. The plane of travel is moving up like this against the horizontal plane of the sun. I have shown you this before. Our plane of travel is around the sun this way, going anti-clockwise. Its plane of travel is here. And this plane of travel has been shifting. It's when we get up close to the horizontal plane of the sun, it's very, very narrow, and we are approaching it at exactly the right angle. And it gets grasped and all these very, very weird and wonderfully fast movements. If you're not actually on the planet and watching it, it's probably a little bit more enjoyable. But I'm telling you, sitting on it, on our planet at that time is a killer. But I just wanted to briefly explain that that's the case. When our planet's cycling around the sun, this plane of travel is slowly moving up. When that happens, it is very swift when it finally grabs and moves the planet up straight like this and puts us on the plane. It's a very fast thing. I am seeing more than one message, as you do in their messages. It's a very, sometimes not so quick to go like that and work it out. What I'm seeing here, as soon as I saw this, I thought, I think I know what this means. And it answered my question, was surely you're not going to create a planet full of Scorpios. Mate, I'm not kidding. I can look in the mirror and get annoyed at myself sometimes. So everybody else of us must have surely annoy Eddie's trusty stick as well. What I'm getting at here is I believe we're seeing that. First of all, I think we go through a period of time when we first come up to meet the plane of the sun, that the moon is going to be moved into a full eclipse for quite a few days. I'm seeing 5 days, strangely enough. You're seeing the moon as a lower, or the moon as a smaller circle in the middle, representing the one that I just showed you. You're seeing it moved out to an extremity like this, but the reason we've got 5 is more than one reason. I said that I would expect that 5 days, and that's to do with the crossing of the plane, that very, very narrow horizontal plane of the sun, has to get towards the bottom part of the planet, or towards the core of the planet. It goes across a lot of ocean. It is the skew of the Earth, or the skew of the actual tilt of the axis. It's the skew of that plane that makes it not get picked up until it's ready and the skew angle is correct. What happens here though, I believe we're seeing these 5 days here being where we're in a total eclipse for a reason, like a reason definitely pertaining to the final motions and the final flattening out of the Earth's axis. Not its plane of travel's like this, that's already flat, but the final laying of the axis. So in other words, it starts to move it up. They spend about 3 months moving land masses, which starts to tilt the Earth up. That process also slows its rotation. They then put water inside the planet, which speeds its rotation, and then they deal with the last bit here, and I think that's the last bit. Having said that, from there forward, I believe we're being told the sequence of the moon, and I'll explain it to you. Now I'll just move in just a little bit, just so we can get a closer look at some dots that I want to show you on this crop circle. And it's these dots here, I'll point them out to you. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then each one of those is 5. Okay, now we've already worked out from this parchment, which we have looked at quite a few times before, that the cycles here on this side, we were looking at 5, I'll zoom in a little more because I know that's a bit difficult for you to see, but on this side here we are looking at their arms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half. 5 and a half there, 5 and a half here, and the last one was 6. And we added these together, 5 and a half and 5 and a half, 11. 5 and a half and 6 was 11 and a half, which was actually telling us how many months there were in a year. Our cycle that we come up to that stands with a straight axis pushes our planet through space faster, and therefore the year is less a year. In our instance, it is 2 weeks shorter, or 11.5 months. When we come back to here, to our crop circle, the one I believe is telling us the cycles of the moon itself, once we are in plane with the sun, that we are seeing counts of months here. And if we were to lose 2 weeks off a year, really, so not even a couple of days, it's a day and a bit a month or thereabouts. But what I believe we're seeing here is months, right? So once we get on to the plane, we will have 11.5 months, but it'll work out to be 12 months. But what I believe here is we're seeing months. So we're going from a point where we can, or not me, from where a woman can ovulate. I might have my part in the matter, although these days that's another story altogether. Listen, I would say if that's our start point, we are going 1 month, 2 months, 3 months to get into the inner, so the moon to be the furthest away, 4, 5 months. So a 5-month period, we're back in a month where women ovulate again. And then they do the same again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in another 10-month period, you've actually had 3 periods of time where women can ovulate. And I believe that's what we're seeing here. What is important here, and I mean really, really important, and it's mind-blowing. If this is correct and what I'm saying is right, it really is a magnificent thing. That the sequence goes around like that, giving you every 5 months within a year. The sequence cannot be coming back to the same place, which is why I wanted to start with Sylvie's work and her star fort. I'll show you why. When we look back at Sylvie's star fort, what we see is 5 points on the inner ring. And then the ring, any point beyond there are different times here. See these incrementing points within the 5 points? These incrementing points within the 5 points are saying the next time it does it, it's not in the same place. And this is how they go about creating a situation where when we're born, we are not born within just 1 or 2 star signs. That the sequence the moon follows allows birth rates to be created, albeit they are low. We know they are lower. We have gone through this parchment in depth before, so I won't stay here too long today, but I did want to reiterate once again, we are being told that the 2 billion people that we have at a given point in this cycle is being turned into our population's right here. That's exactly what it is. There's 7 billion, a little over 7 billion people here. This is our population written at the time, and this was collected in 1700 by a Frenchman. But in actual fact, our population is shown here, and we are increasing from 2 billion to 8 billion in less than 2,000 years, when in the reality here they're telling us in 16,000 years on plane with the sun, we are only producing 16 billion people. And that is where we are being told the problem with, ovulation not being a situation where it can happen all the way through the year. So that's the situation we are seeing within a 10-month period, 3 windows of ovulation, or 3 windows where ovulation can take place. I wanted to show you that, but I wanted to also do a bit of math again. Once again, I'm saying that 2 to 8, if you multiplied 8 by 8, you would expect to get 64 billion people here. The other funny thing is here over on this side, it drops even lower than the 16 billion. It reflects over here. But the funny thing is when it reflects over there, it's not what you think. I think what we're seeing reflection here is these are longer days, so you get less nights a year. And this may be very well driven just by human nature, by the fact that it's not nighttime. And I say human nature because of where we're looking at with the moon and the creation of multiple people born in different star signs. And so when I bring you back now to Sophie's star fort video, which like I said, I strongly recommend going and looking at her work. It is magnificent. But really truly understand what we've just been told. We have been told that our system has been designed now, which could have been designed multiple ways, in a manner as to ensure that every time the moon came back here, it was going to be within a different star sign. So all of those people out there that are into astrology and star signs and all those things, and you've been told for years a load of rubbish, okay? You have the evidence right there, built by the people that push our planet out beyond Mars and back and have done for 15 million years, that our very human nature of each and every individual one of us, which is once again reflected by the rocks, they're on every rock. Every one of us is important, and all types of us are important. Otherwise that wouldn't exist. And the only people that I would see putting a design of such a nature into place is humans. That is the only people that would do that sort of thing, I would expect. And people, I've got a friend that said, oh, yes, in God brain. And I said, yes, but these people know God. That's in their message. So that's why the people here that are the 666 mob, that are where the warning within the cycles are warned over and over and over and over. They just don't listen. So that's the reality. So, like I said, that to me is the most, I had to make another video because it not only answered the question as how all the animals did it, but it also, I would have imagined, released some anxiety, if any, that my last video put up in respect to, women and your ovulation periods and so on. I would have thought this was rather important to put up. So I would think, and from Sylvie's point of view, Sylvie, that is pretty amazing, I can tell you now, to see that type of design and possibly what I've just said, understanding as to why these are offset against all these other stars when it is you understand how they use the moon. So isn't that a wondrous thing, knowing that all of these other points around here are locations of a sequence of a moon to ensure humans of multiple star signs are born over the sequence and throughout the sequence. It is amazing. That just blew me away. And like I said, that's the other reason why I actually wanted to come back and go to the New Earth site, because I know Sylvie was very, very much in tune with all this sort of thing, and through her biography was very, 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 very significant part of her youth when she grew up and everything, so I thought she'd like that. One other thing I would like to say before we finish up though is, what is the last name of this thing? It's a star fort. I bring your attention to the last word now, fort. And I would see in that fort the fact that it is built and designed to be a fort, even though it's probably never been used as one and only been built there to reflect exactly what we've just spoken of, in a time when it was needed. I would see that we are being told here that they've had to fight themselves for the right to produce and allow what goes down on this solar system and with our planet. These are our ancestors we're talking about. They've had to fight in a world beyond here. I can tell you now, I've seen it on the rocks. Have you ever seen the Star Wars movies where they're all sitting around in a big... Oh, sorry, I've got some wild birds out there going for it. Have you ever seen Star Wars movie when there's a whole pack of aliens in a really big auditorium, they're all communicating with you? That is on the rocks, I'm not kidding. I've got videos I've taken off rocks. I call them for conference because that's what they look like. They're not humans. There are some humans amongst them, but there are all different other beings. We get moved away from this planet as humans, but there is a filtering place and process. Whatever it is that creates this 666 stuff is what is being filtered. And that is part and parcel of them telling you that. They've had to fight for the right because of this other behaviour. And because of this other behaviour in humanity, they've had to build a system like this to allow us to keep going. Because that's what I see in that explanation. It right there is telling us we have had to fight for the right for every little individual human and different type of human, because it is not a problem pertaining to any one. It's a problem, and the way they do and build this design is the way they ensure nobody with such behaviour like that is leaving this planet, that's for sure. So that is all I'm going to put in today's video, and believe it or not, I actually did make a short one. That's all from Brian Whitten and ET Art. Thank you very much, and thank you, Sylvie, for your work.